Hello everyone, today I will tell you about the film Vesper. Enjoy watching. Before watching, please don't forget to subscribe and leave a comment. I'm trying to develop this channel, and your support is the only thing I have. The film begins with credits. In an attempt to save itself from an ecological catastrophe, humanity has played around with genetic technologies. New microorganisms have broken free, which has led to the destruction of all edible animals and plants, as well as partly the people themselves. The survivors live in citadels, where strict control over the population and the latest technology help them survive. The rest drag out a miserable existence on barren lands, forced to barter with the rich for plant seeds genetically programmed so that the fruits grown from them do not produce offspring. In the opening scene, the main character Vesper, together with a flying drone controlled by her father, searches for edible roots in the dirt. Having dug up some provisions, the girl returns home, carefully avoiding the tentacles of carnivorous plants sticking out of the ground. Inside, she prepares a nutritious mixture, which is poured into a bag, and the bag is hung next to the bed of her seriously ill father to feed him through a tube. After feeding him, the heroine goes to the lab. A drone controlled by her father flies with her. Inside, the girl talks to a time-dried dead man and collects the necessary equipment for her own scientific experiments. She is interrupted by a suspicious noise outside, the source of which is one of the pilgrims, sick people who collect all sorts of junk and carry it away somewhere. Returning home, Vesper notices that someone has killed the guard of predatory tentacles. With a knife in her hand, she sneaks into the house, but there is no one there. However, some things are damaged, including the electric generator that supports her father's life support system. The girl goes to the nearest settlement for help, where she witnesses a terrible scene. The locals surrounded the wounded Jag, an artificial creature grown in a test tube for work. The village elder Jonas appears. He forces the culprit of the incident to finish off the wounded Jag to save him from suffering. Although not immediately, the boy cuts the worker with a knife. Having ordered the body to be removed, Jonas talks to Vesper, who is his niece. The girl asks her uncle for the parts needed to repair the repair, but he refuses to help for free. Then the heroine gives her blood in exchange. Jonas uses it in trade with the Citadel. When she asks to pay her off, her uncle tells her to come back in a couple of days. First, she needs to sell the blood, but her father just can't hold out, so the girl wants to take the liquid. But she can't do it. Jonas throws her out into the street, where his children laugh at her. Later, Vesper returns to the village to sneak inside. When she tries to sneak into the house unnoticed, one of Jonas's children stumbles upon her. But he says nothing, allowing the heroine to carry out her plan. But in addition to the parts for the generator, she also steals seeds, from which her uncle unsuccessfully tries to grow a crop. Returning back, the heroine sees a falling glider in the sky, but pays no attention to it. At home, she shows her father the stolen seeds, which she wants to try to genetically unlock so that they produce offspring naturally. The next day, wandering through the forest, the girl finds a wounded woman who, judging by her clothes, arrived from the Citadel. She is already surrounded by blood-sucking plants. Noticing that she is still breathing, Vesper disconnects the bloodsucker and drags the body home, where she treats the wounds and pulls out the parasites. Her father is unhappy that she brought a stranger, but the heroine believes that she did the right thing. The rescued person could be her ticket to a better life within the walls of the Citadel. Meanwhile, a woman named Camellia comes to her senses and hides a knife under her pillow. She asks Vesper where her companion is. He must be found. Vesper, contrary to her father's words, promises to find the second passenger, but in the morning. In the evening, the girl tries to feed the guest, but she is not used to eating soup with larvae and caterpillars. Camellia says that her father is very influential and will help them. And Vesper says that her father was a Citadel soldier until he was wounded. The drone is all that his employers rewarded him with for his service. Suddenly, the patient begins to have an attack. Camellia calms him down with a kiss, after which he falls asleep. In the morning, the heroine sets off with the drone to search for the crashed glider. Following the trail of fragments, she finds the device in the lowland. Vesper doesn't have time to open the door when Jonas and his men appear. Seeing a wounded man from the Citadel inside, Jonas strangles him instead of helping, despite the tears and pleas of his niece. Realizing that there is a second passenger somewhere, the uncle asks the girl if she has met anyone, but she lies so as not to give away Camellia. Returning home, she lies to the guests, saying that she found nothing. At night, Vesper takes Camellia to her garden, where the plants she created grow. She wants to demonstrate her usefulness as a geneticist, so that she will put in a good word for her at the Citadel. In the house, the girl talks about her mother. One day, she fell ill and left with the pilgrims. Then they look at a book about animals. Camellia, who grew up in more favorable conditions, tells the girl about the habits of extinct creatures. Having agreed with her father that they need to call people from the Citadel for Camellia, the girl tries to break into her uncle's house the next day, who has the only transmitter for communication. The drone flew out to reconnoiter, but fell into the hands of Jonas. He is rummaging through its entrails when Vesper arrives. The uncle asks why she came and if he knows who stole his seeds from her. He even had to punish his son, who was on duty that day. Frightened by his ominous tone, Vesper grabs the drone at the first opportunity and runs away. Jonas follows and whistles a command to his sons. In the forest, the heroine launches the drone into flight, but after repairs, it can barely keep its balance. It falls into a lowland. The girl goes down after it and stumbles upon the body of a dead boy, the same one who did not raise the alarm earlier. Soon, the boys sent for her appear. They pursue Vesper and eventually catch her. While two hold her, the third puts a claymore with a hot iron on her hand. At home, the heroine, upset, tries to fix the drone. Camellia consoles her, and eventually the girl confesses to her that her father, the second passenger of the glider, is dead. She takes the guest to the forest, where his body lies in the swamp. Vesper notices a scar on Camelia's back and realizes that she is an artificially created jag, unique in its kind, endowed, unlike the others, with full consciousness and personality. Vesper understands that Camellia will not take her to the Citadel, since she herself cannot return there. Returning to her father, the heroine tells him what happened. He notes that the girl still needs to run. Jonas marked her as prey and will punish her for stealing. While they are talking, Camellia in another room tries to commit suicide with a hidden knife, but misses. Vesper comes running to the cry of pain and prevents her from finishing what she started. Having made peace, the girl asks Camellia for permission to examine her genetic material. Vesper finds a blocked code in her DNA, just like in plant seeds that are deprived of the ability to reproduce. Camellia simultaneously tells her that her creator treated her not as a daughter, but as a spouse. Remembering him, the guest begins to play a musical instrument. The DNA suddenly reacts to certain notes, and with their help, Vesper manages to unlock the code. By adding the Camelia's genetic material to the grains, the heroine manages to remove the block on reproduction from them. Such a discovery radically changes the entire system of world order. Upon learning of this, her father tells Vesper to go with Camellia to another citadel and exchange the unlocked seeds for a safe haven. To finish the experiments, the girl goes to the laboratory. At this time, Jonas comes to the house and finds Camellia there. He offers to go with him, threatening to kill his sick brother if he refuses. But noticing that she is not a person, but Jag, Jonas tries to rape her first and then kill her. He is prevented from doing this by the returning Vesper and Drawn. A fight breaks out between Jonas and the girls. It ends when his hand is nailed to the table with a knife. The niece offers her uncle a deal. He leaves them alone, receiving unlocked seeds in exchange. Then he will have his own harvest and will not have to collect blood from children to trade with the Citadel. However, returning to the village, the man contacts the Citadel via transmitter and hands over the escaped Jag. In the evening, while Vesper is experimenting, the house is attacked. For the first time, a liquid resembling rapidly growing mold penetrates through a crack under the door. People climb onto the table to get away from it, but it keeps coming. At the last moment, the mold suddenly freezes and begins to evaporate into poisonous but quickly dissipating smoke. Realizing that soldiers will come next, the father tells his daughter and Camellia to run into the garden. He himself will try to convince his former colleagues that no one else is here. Meanwhile, the soldiers visit Jonas's house. He goes out to meet them and without a word gets a bullet in the head. The drone meets the soldiers near the generator, which explodes after the shot, burying in flames not only Vesper's father, but also the soldiers who came for his soul. The girl, seeing flashes of flame, rushes back in tears. But Camellia holds her back and brings her to her senses. They continue towards the garden, but the silent Citadel enforcers are already hot on their heels. Vesper uses her knowledge of the area and the characteristics of the plants to lure one of them into a trap between the red bushes. If they are disturbed, a swarm of aggressive fireflies will pierce the intruder. This works with the first soldier, but the second one goes around the bushes, looking for the fugitives. The girls hide behind the bushes until another plant gives them away with a squeak. The soldier returns, and a fight breaks out between them. Vesper covers the glass of his helmet with dirt, causing him to drop the gun. Picking it up, the girl does not know how to shoot, but thinks to throw it into the bush. The alarmed swarm of fireflies rises from the thicket and attacks the soldier frozen nearby. Camellia, realizing that the soldiers will not stop pursuing her, is going to turn back and surrender. Vesper tearfully begs her to stay and not abandon her, but Jag, using a soporific kiss, puts the girl to sleep. Sprinkling her body with dry leaves, Camellia goes to the garden, where the soldiers find her. Waking up in the morning in the forest on the ground, Vesper returns to the ashes where the house was. She plants a few seeds in the blackened earth. She is caught doing this by 4 of Jonas's children, who miraculously survived the night's purge. When Vesper leaves in search of a new citadel, they follow her. The children travel across the country, joining a string of pilgrims dragging collected trash in a direction known only to them. A few days later, the travelers come to a huge man-made tower of junk, built by pilgrims who pitched a tent city at its base. Approaching the tower, Vesper realizes that her journey is almost over. Leaving her companions below, the girl climbs up the fragile structure. Almost falling, she climbs to the observation deck, towering over the surrounding forests. The girl looks around and notices the giant domes of another citadel nearby. However, instead of getting off and heading there, Vesper takes out the unlocked seeds and throws them into the wind so that it spreads them as widely as possible and plants the nearby lands. This is where the film ends.